Hey, what's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to Season 2 of the MindShare podcast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at mindshare101.com and on all the major podcast platforms. This week's episode is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems. This is episode 73. She's a best-selling author. She's an international keynote speaker. She's a certified high-performance coach and a digital marketing expert. And her focus every day is on one thing: helping people live happier, wealthier, and more fulfilled lives. She is Rebecca Mountain. Rebecca, welcome to the MindShare podcast. Side note, we pressed the recording button a couple moments late, so we're going to pick this up mid-sentence. Hey, listen, you know what? You got to spice it up a little bit. You got to start off on a good note, right? So, I was browsing around your website, and I had noticed something, and you had said, I found the impact that I wanted to have, and the income followed. It was that simple.
Mm-hmm.
What does this mean? You found your impact. Share that with us.
So for most of my life, where I did 12 years in corporate Canada, where I was the world's worst employee, kept getting fired or quitting. And then so I decided that the common denominator was me. So I should just, because I can't quit myself. And so I started my own business, and I focused almost entirely on the money aspect, right? Because all the people I was listening to say, money goals and, hustle, and achieve this and double, 2 comma club and all that stuff. And what I found was I was worried so much about the money, I didn't really care about the impact. And because of that, it was a constant hamster wheel. So 2 years ago, I thought, okay, I think I have this backwards. So I decided to look at what I was doing and where my strengths were and what I really wanted to do, and the kind of impact I wanted to have, the changes I wanted for other people, became the changes that I received for myself. So that we can go into my background, but suffice to say, it was a really weird and screwed up way of thinking. So I reframed my business and my offerings to be, what is something that I could offer that will truly and deeply, change people's lives? And then by focusing on that and by caring only about that, that attracts the right kind of people. So the effort that is required to actually grow and build a business and to create, a brand and all that kind of a thing, it actually just happens much more naturally. Like, it's not that I didn't have to work for it. I worked really, really hard, but I didn't feel that I was on a hamster wheel anymore. I feel like I'm now on a path and I'm just kind of moving along and I'm picking up people as I go. That's what it means.
The hamster wheel is real. I
Yep.
know, and I mean, that was one of the big things too for me as I was reading through a lot of your stuff, your bio, and just more about you, and going through the website, which is very impressive stuff. And everybody should check that out for sure. I was thinking a lot of the same thing, and I know through conversations you and I have had, it's much the same, right? It's that whole thing of, okay, so we get up every single day. We have all these amazing intentions on things that we want to do. And of course, living in a time like even right now, it's almost that thing of going, I was going to do this and I was going to do that. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, brakes put on, everything stopped. Here we are living in this world. And that whole hamster wheel, it's so real. Like, especially when we talk about consistency, we talk about routine, we talk about how to make ourselves better on a regular basis. I know for myself, even, like, I'll get up every day. And again, I will always prepare, the night before, 15 to 20 minutes, plan my day for today, get up today and just know exactly what I have to do and like go full bore. But there are days, especially right now, where we feel like we are running on that hamster wheel, right? We aren't sure where we should be going, what we should be doing. And again, how do we make more of an impact out there? So, I mean, you talked about some of you sort of alluded to the background, and I know the background comes from sort of, at least from where I got to know you from way back when, was in the social media space of things.
That's right.
And you've now changed gears because, again, you found that impact. So what, like, more specifically to even that realization, and how would somebody here make that same realization for themselves?
What I came to understand is what was really driving me, right? So I had a successful digital marketing agency, you know, 7 figures. I have a team of 14 people that worked where they want. I'm a virtual company. And yet I wanted to kind of stab everybody every day because I didn't,
You see
I
why I
just,
like her.
I'm just like, oh, like I'd wake up in the morning, I'd pick up my phone and I would treat it like it was going to bite me, right? Because there was going to be something on here that was going to stress me out. That was, you know, what seemed to be just like a silly kind of a problem. But more to the point, the reason I did my switch is because you know, I've done for 10 years Facebook ads for people. I've done Facebook training for people. I do marketing automation, email automation, um, like anything in the digital world. Mine is Google. I leave that at a whole other kettle of
That is a
fish. Like,
confusing platform.
yeah, call someone else, not me. You know, blah blah Google, everything else over there. And so what I realized was I was creating a bigger problem for people by focusing on one element. So social media marketing, digital marketing, incredibly important element of your business.
Mhm.
But if the rest of your business and the rest of your mindset is all messed up, it's not going to work. So people would pay me, honestly, tens of thousands of dollars and do nothing with what I told them. Or they would pay me tens of thousands of dollars to generate leads and to build their marketing. But because they didn't have any kind of follow-up process, it actually ended up failing. So we're talking about the hamster wheel. I had like a revolving door of clients. They would come in, I would do exactly what they wanted, but it would cause a problem, and then they'd go, and then they'd come in, and then they'd go, and it was exhausting. And
Right.
so what I was looking for is what does lasting impact look like? I did research on what different people like throughout history. Like I went back to the early 20th century to the Dale Carnegies and, you know, the
Yeah.
Napoleon Hills. And I'm like, what did they say? Why aren't people picking that up? I mean, we're talking 1937, folks. This is not new news.
It's
And yet
amazing
for
how some
many,
of that stuff from back then it still resonates so perfectly today, doesn't
huge.
it?
Yeah, Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, one of the most beautiful, heart-wrenching books I've ever read, but it really hit that note for me of what does it mean to have meaning. And so that's really what I was hunting for is I want my life to have meaning. I don't necessarily need to have this giant legacy, but I want what I do to mean something to people. And I just felt that, and this is absolutely no disrespect to people running ads for people. It is a service and some people love it and it brings them joy and it brings them meaning and they should keep doing that. But it wasn't doing it for me. So then I had to go search for what does that mean? What I loved about Viktor Frankl's book is like, don't look at what's the meaning of my life because that's too big. What's the meaning of today? What's the meaning of this moment right here, you and me doing this, right? What is it that I want to have happen in this moment, and how can I find meaning in it? You know, for today, like right now, what we're doing, if someone hears this message and it helps them in some way to unlock something that's been holding them back for years, then I've shown up and I can feel really awesome about my day. I just got off the phone with a guy in my group call, and he'd never heard of me until about 2 weeks ago, and he was in a huge funk and massively plagued by depression and anxiety. And I must have been talking about something related to that, and something just went click in his brain, and he said I was just free. And that feeling, that anxiety, that angst, that boulder of on his chest, it just went away. And now he's signed up for a whole bunch of stuff, and he was on my call, and you know, now he's an advocate, but he's an advocate for himself
Yeah.
as
Oh,
well. So.
okay, and I love what you said. And this plays so well off of my episode a few weeks ago with my friend Cheryl Easton,
Hmm.
when we talked about the fact that and the whole thing around that was the fact that you are enough. And so
Yes.
we've got a lot of that right now where people are really starting to question, really
Hmm.
starting to look at themselves and go, what am I doing?
Hmm. Hmm.
Is this working? Is it not working? Oh my God, life has changed in the blink of an eye, the
Hmm.
snap of a finger right now. And you talk about the fact that like being here in the moment, right? And there are people, I mean, I know in my group stuff that I teach and we talk about gratitude.
Yep.
Talk about goals. We talk
Yep.
about intention setting. And
Mhm.
I'm the first guy to tell everybody. I used to believe that stuff was hocus pocus. Like I used to
Mhm.
look at that and go, like, you got to be kidding me. It's
Guilty.
not my thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was that guy in the audience, like, please. We're gonna get into this again. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to
Wah,
make a phone
wah.
call. Let me know when
Wah,
we're
wah,
done, right?
wah.
But here I am living it. And I know
Mhm.
you are.
Yep.
And it is that thing of being in the moment,
Mhm.
right? Being here, being right now.
Mhm.
And people have trouble with that, right?
Do you know why? There's a reason why people have trouble with it. Very few of us have figured out, and I put myself in this category. I strive for it. I'm not perfect, but I
Yeah,
try to be in the moment. And the reason why it's very difficult to be in the moment is for two things. First of all, we're not comfortable with ourselves. So if I'm not comfortable with myself, of sitting here with myself, I don't want to be with myself. So I want to be either looking in my past or I want to be looking to my future. I definitely don't want to be looking at myself because I don't like what I see. And anxiety is a fear of what's going to happen next. Like as most people know, my son has generalized anxiety disorder and Asperger's and ADD and a whole bunch of other stuff. His little recipe card. And when he was 3 years old and he had it, I made a little book every day of the week, little pictures of what would happen in his day because that's what his fear is. And as adults, it's exactly what scares us. But what I really try to help people with is that idea that you just said, like you are enough. But what does it mean to be enough, and where does that come from? And so that's in my book. And again, so this bad boy here, what if you want to look at a sort of a process? I never thought I could write a book because I never thought I had something worth sharing. I'm like, but
right.
there's like billions of books out there. Why would someone read my book? Why would this be enough? Why do I bother? And I tried 6 times to write this stupid thing until one day I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And I did that by using neuroscience, actually, which is
Yep.
really kind of fun,
Love neuroscience.
of changing my thoughts because we cannot act counter to what we believe, and we believe what we feed our brain. And so I decided that I would stop thinking that I couldn't be an author. I would stop saying I'll never write a book. And I took a little sticky note, just a cute little sticky note. I put it right above my computer so I could see it every single day with one word on it and said book.
Hmm.
And a year later, here's my book.
Yeah,
Yep,
bringing it
number
to
one in
life.
6 countries, number one in 8 personal development categories. About to do the first virtual book signing event, I think, ever, because no one's ever thought about doing it. And I just thought, well, I all my other book signings got canceled with Starbucks and Indigo, and I'm like, well, I'm not giving that up, right? So how do I do this? My publisher is even like, I don't know, and I'm like, oh, thanks, I'll figure it out. Bye. But that's it's one of the ways that we become okay with ourselves is we write in great detail the kind of person we want to become more like. So again, behind my desk, I've graduated from a tiny sticky to a giant, like poster size one with all the words that I want to step into more, right? I want to be consistent. I want to be present. I want to be, a deal maker because I've had insecurities about certain aspects of my business abilities with no proof that I'm not good at it, like zero proof. And so with neuroscience, woohoo, the more I read that, the more I think that, the more my belief system starts to change. And now I can completely alter the way I act and get exactly what I want just by backing that train up all the way to how you think. A lot of people think that, when they get really freaked out, that I just should do stuff, right? Like, like, diving all over the place.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that actually makes it worse because you're now spinning. You're a truck in the mud. The more you spin, the deeper you get, the harder it is to pull out of that. So to recognize, to back that up to the beginning, to the way what you feed into this noggin of ours, which controls absolutely everything. That's how you become okay with yourself, and then you can be okay with being quiet with yourself, and you ease the anxiety of the future, and you let go of the guilt and shame of the past, and then you just feel really freaking amazing.
It's a cool feeling, isn't it?
Tis
And
took
there's
me a long
still the
time to
ups
get
and
here.
downs. The ups and downs will still always happen.
but you can handle them.
That's the difference. It's how
You
you
can handle
manage
them.
that. I mean, I know, again, one of the things we talk about is even the vision boards, right? And I've
Mm-hmm.
done that with my
Yeah.
groups. And again, here's a guy who's like, vision
Mm-hmm.
board, please, but, and I've told my groups this many times, my wife convinced me to do it, and she
Mm-hmm.
kind of helped me do it and put it together. But it's your sticky note, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's wake up, look at it, and it's that reminder. It's where you said book, and then all of a sudden look at this. Like we were sitting, she put up on our vision board, I think it was last year, she'd put up an image. And the image was of my two sort of screens, like on either side
Yep.
of me, flanking me with, on the big screen with my contact information, my Canadian maple leaf, the one that I always put up all my stuff. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then my face in the middle on another big screen with me on stage. And so here we are, and we were, flying home from somewhere back in the fall. And we had seen the picture that was just taken at the conference we were at. And we looked at it
Mm-hmm.
and we're like, oh my God. She's like, what? I'm like, the vision board. She's like, what? And she looked at the photo, and we looked at that, and we're like, oh my God. And it's not that we haven't had those opportunities before, but it was like,
Mm-hmm.
we put it up. We brought this thing to life through
Mm-hmm.
a few little fancy, maybe Canva or whatever little tricks. Right. And then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden what we did was, we looked back after putting our head down and really being dedicated to the process and consistent with it all. We look back and we brought that to life.
You did.
So we don't know where it's going to come from necessarily all the time. We don't know how it's going to come, but we do know that if we've got the right processes in place, and you just said something interesting about, we think that if we just get up and boom, 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 things are just going to get done. But it's not about
Nope.
that. What is the more detailed approach in that? I mean, one of the steps I'll say, just to kick that off, is
Mm-hmm.
write it down, take it out of your head
Mm-hmm.
and put it on paper, bring it
Mm-hmm.
to life.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of those other things that instead of just that boom, boom, boom every day, it's like there is structure, there's a plan? I mean, again, I think this comes back to goal setting, but I'm curious to know, kind of where you take that.
Yep. Well, there's a couple of different things. So like the 4-step process that we talked about, so the 4th step being getting what you want. So whether it's a better relationship, a stronger business, more self-love or whatever you want to call that, to get there, you've got to start at the beginning, which what you think, thoughts thought often enough become beliefs. Beliefs that are simply thoughts that are repetitively reminded within your world. So having the sticky notes is one thing. Putting a reminder on your phone to kind of just to remind you. And if it says you're amazing, then you read that, even if you don't believe it, which you won't. That's something. And then of course there's the action. And so once you deal with step 1 and 2, then you're ready for action. And what I like to tell people is goals are important to have, but not to think about every day, if that makes any kind of sense. Example I talked to a woman, and those like thermometer things, right? So she had a thermometer, and it was January, and she kept looking at the blank thermometer. And I'm just like, tear that down, like right now, get rid of it, throw it away, rip it into pieces, blow it in the wind.
Blank? No, I'm joking. Keep going.
So it was empty. The thermometer was not filling, and it was her sales, like how many sales that she's going to get. And it was so demotivating for her. She would just stare at it all day, do absolutely nothing, and then feel really bad about herself at the end of the night. And what that does is it creates a death spiral, right? Because then you don't want to get up the next day because it's going to be more of the same. And so you go to bed later or you sleep in longer and you try to push back the day. And then that just sort of death spirals you. So what I like to get people to do is have an idea of what you want. I want to have a business that is, successful and consistent. Perfect. If you have an actual income goal, that's fine. But the only way you're going to achieve that is by having activity goals. So today I was talking with a client, and she's great when she's busy because she has checklists, and a mess when she's not. And this is where most people are at because business is not the same, right? It's some people aren't busy at all or because they can't be, right? The industry is just collapsing or has gone quiet. So in those moments, you still need a structure, like you said. So I say, what are your projects? What are ways that you can keep in touch with people? You might not be able to have sales, but you can absolutely keep your brand strong. You can absolutely show up for people and deliver content. I just did a 2-hour masterclass last week that gave, honestly, I just pulled out all the stops. I rarely ever teach like this, but I was just like, prepare for the tsunami. Get your mask and goggles and like, let's go. And I had like 67 ideas on what people could do to either grow your list, build your brand, or stay in touch with your database. And then just structure your activities. So this is my goal. What are the activities that, if done consistently, will help me achieve that goal? And then focus on the activities. Know that the goal is there. But if you're just focusing on a goal that's so lofty and you're like, oh, stress, 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 shrink goes your brain, down goes your morale, and then nothing happens. But I can look at my performance planner, and I'm like, okay, today I have these 3 tasks that must get done. I'm going to do it at this time, this time, this time. Turn off my phone, turn off my email, get it done. And then I know that I have contributed to my goal. So it's that idea of contribution, I think, that people really need to focus on.
I love the way you've done that, because again, we're really sharing, and we've talked about this many times before off air, but we really share a lot of the same principles
We do.
to our audiences, and I believe much the same, right? It's you've got to have that goal, but now we've got to say, take that and go, how does that break down into what I'm supposed to do every day, so that I'm not just waking up in a day going, well, that's my goal. No. What is that actionable item that needs to happen every single day? Now, there's a lot of people that are living in fear right now, right? This could be fear of, when is this all going to end? This could be fear of, a loved one getting sick, or even obviously themselves getting sick. There's fear of, when's the next paycheck going to, where's it going to come from?
Of course.
How do you suggest that people manage this feeling of fear right now?
So like I said, I've got my little guy who's 14 now. I noticed he had anxiety when he was 3. My ex has acute anxiety disorder. So I've been dealing in and around the anxiety world since I was about 17 years old. I don't have it myself, but I observe and I use strategies. So fear comes from worrying about what's going to happen. But there is no proof that this drama that we're creating is going to actually materialize. So while it is important to know, facts and how to keep ourselves safe, and, the physical distancing and all that kind of stuff, what's most important is to not feed the beast. And in Dean Graziosi's book, Millionaire Success Habits, he tells a story of another story. I think it's an indigenous story of a grandmother talking to her child. And in your brain, there are always 2 wolves, and you may have heard this story. There's the good wolf, which is full of, the way you feel about yourself in a good way. It's positivity and all that kind of a thing, and hope. And then there's the bad wolf, which is fear, anxiety, rejection, criticism, blame, and shame. And they're always fighting. They're always locked in a battle all day long, back and forth.
So there is no getting away from those.
But there's one that wins.
Okay.
It's the one you feed.
Right.
And so if you continually feed the fear wolf, then it will grow and it will overshadow and be very difficult for you to think, to be inventive, and to find your way, because you got to find our way through this. We can't find our way out of this because we can't escape it. It's literally global. Even if you go to space, you still got a problem. So we can't get past this at any faster, but we need to be able to pull through this. And so what I like to say, my big fear moment is actually 2:00 in the morning. I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, and I'm worrying about something. What I do is I go through, I talk about this actually in my book. It's like a story changer chart. So what is the story I'm telling myself? My story is I'm going to get sick. My story is someone I know is going to get sick. I'm not going to be able to feed my family. Everything's going going off the rails and so on. That is a story. It's important to understand where that fear kind of originates. I like to, because often the fear we have is actually something that happened to us a long time ago that we keep re-triggering through our lives. But the most important thing is, what is a different story we can tell? And so a different story we can tell is usually the polar opposite of the first one. And this goes with, I'm not good enough. A totally different story is, not only that I'm enough, but I'm great. And the last piece, which is important, is how would my life be different day to day if I believed this new story? If I no longer believed that I was not enough, I believed instead that I was amazing. And how would my life be different in that kind of an instance? And when you visualize that, and like you said, when you write that down, you start to change your biochem chemical balance. So anxiety is an actual biochemical imbalance. It's not a mental disorder. It is a balance that is like your entire electrical system's off, your cells are off, and the only way to change that is through this thing right here. Yes, medication can help, and in certain instances, it's absolutely necessary. But a lot of just sort of people who don't necessarily have a disorder but are just living in fear can actually change it by identifying, what am I actually afraid of? Where does that fear really come from? What is a new story I can tell myself, and how would my life be different if I thought that way? And then actively try to do that. And it's really difficult because how we've been thinking for a long time creates those neural pathways, right? It's all science, all your brain. And so what you're trying to do is now kill those neural pathways and build new ones, but that takes time, and your brain will fight you. So you can say, I'm amazing, and your brain's going to go, no, you're not, you suck.
Right.
You've been
And
thinking
how do
you
people,
suck.
that's the thing. How do people deal with that? Because that's the moment right there. Okay, so I'm going to write it down. And I'm going to listen to what Rebecca and David just say. I am amazing. And I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to be like, I still feel like shit.
You read it again and again and again and again, and you listen to things that that propel you into that mind frame. So I have this hilarious habit. Every time I have lunch, I sit down in front of my computer and I watch Ellen. But I don't just watch her like Game of Games or anything like that. I watch video clips on YouTube of her talking to inspiring people, because I love to be inspired. I want to be uplifted in the middle of my day. I want to see other people doing amazing things because it makes me want to do my amazing things. Now, I can't do all the amazing things some of these people have done. They're truly inspiring and amazing individuals. But I look at them and go, I can step up my game. And so when you surround yourself, your environment, both external and internal, with a more positive outlook, then you change your biochemistry. You change the neural pathways. And one day, you don't need these anymore, right? You don't need a sticky note. You don't need a reminder on your phone. You don't need a giant poster with all the words you need on it, because your brain has established those neural pathways. So therefore, it doesn't need the reminder. I had a guy tell me that he'd put all these post-it notes up with these new words that he wanted to remind himself to be and to live every day. And he said, well, what if I stop seeing it? What if I should change the color? And I'm like, if your brain no longer actively seeks out that information, it's because you don't need it anymore, because that pathway has been established. But because our brains are built to fight against something that's not normal, and if normal has been, you bad talking yourself forever, it will fight you on that. But you need to fight back. And just one more thing on fight, just in case people are
it's great.
going to go through this.
It's amazing.
There's a wonderful book called The Great Leap, and I cannot remember the author, but I've experienced this myself, and I had walked another client through this exact same process. When you operate at a sort of what I call the level of excellence, it's, again, I don't call it that, the book calls it that, but let's just call it that. And you're moving into the level of genius. So you're bypassing your comfort zones. You're doing things you've never done before. You're stretching and, growing, and you're doing it at like maybe a really fast pace. What you're going to find is that stuff starts to happen, right? You get sick. Someone else gets sick. You get in an accident. This guy dropped his phone and a $2,000 camera all in the same day. And he's like, I've never done this in my life. Now I knew what was going on in his life, and he was in that moment. He was moving from excellent to genius level. And if you do that really quickly, your brain and everything about you just sort of almost, it makes me feel like it's like a vibration. You're like a bomb is going off, and your brain is doing everything it can to stop you, because even though this is what you need, because it's really, really different, your brain is trying to protect you. And it's just the reptilian. Yep. So what some people do is they misconstrue that as, oh, the universe is telling me to stop. No. Universe is saying, keep going, because you'll pass that point. And you'll know that if you hit those barriers and you have sickness or accident or just weird things happen, it's for a reason. It's because you're moving to the next sort of stratosphere of your performance in your life. It's really cool.
Did I just, as I sort of just piped in there, were you just saying the reptilian? Referring to the reptilian brain?
Like the very, 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 very billions of years old part of our brain.
That's the thing for everybody, listening right now. We've got three levels of our brain: the neocortex, the limbic system, and then we've got the reptilian brain. And just to dumb this whole thing of the brain and neuroscience right down for a very split second, it's as Rebecca just said. This is the oldest part of our brain.
Yep.
This is the instinctive part of our brain. This is the part that causes us to react or act or not act intuitively, without
Absolutely.
even thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's again, and I think where you were going with that is almost training the brain, but fighting against some of these instinctive reactions. But that's also the brain, again, like you said, protecting us and going either slow down, speed up, this is right, this is wrong. And at the same time, too, starting to really shape what's going on in our mind by that constant consistency and repetition, which we know consistency and repetition is the magic ingredient to achieving anything we want in life.
Yep, absolutely.
So with what we're going over right now, here's an interesting one, because obviously both of us being marketers and being in the industry and coaches and helping, everybody grow, why would anybody listening to this right now want to leverage this information, not only for themselves, because this is great info for each of us as individuals, but to help somebody else manage these feelings as well? Why would they want to do that? Why would they want to go help somebody else? What's sort of what is the why to that? What's the outcome of that? And then maybe what suggestion do you have for somebody to say, take this and go do this with it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I'm just sort of thinking of the best way of answering the question. So
Loaded,
why would absolutely, this is very good. It's a very good question. I haven't heard this question before. Why would someone come and do something with the information from today? Part of it is if we improve our environment around us. So if I help one individual manage their fear. So let's say I manage my fear. I do one thing and it really, really works. And I share that with another individual and that really, really works. When people feel that that you have helped them, two things happen. One is their emotional bond with you increases tenfold. You will have loyalty for life from those people. The second thing that happens is that because they feel so good and because it helped so much, even the tiniest little thing, they want to go tell somebody else. I shared with a guy, I went to baseball camp in March, and he had so much anxiety, he couldn't leave his house. He couldn't sleep anywhere overnight. And can't remember why we got on this conversation, but we did. And so I shared with him just the tiniest little tip with people who can't sleep at night is just to simply say to yourself, I am asleep. I am asleep. And it sounds insane because you're thinking it, ergo you're not asleep. But if you tell your brain, I'm asleep, I'm asleep, I'm asleep, your brain's like, oh, my bad. I'll go to sleep now. And you go to sleep. And so the next day I saw him, I think his name is Adam, and I'm like, how did it go, Adrian? I said, how did it go? And he's like, I haven't slept like that in 3 years. And so what do you think he's going to do with that? He's going to go and he's going to take that to somebody else. And so from a pure, not altruistic, I think altruism is like slightly evil, but that's just kind of my background. So, but that idea of we help ourselves and we wish to help others because we care. There's that piece. If you take that and move it into the professional world, again, the same thing happens. If I help someone in their business, if I help someone, again, whether it's a coach or whether it's doing an ad, right, and it really helps them, they will show gratitude and client for life. And then what are they going to do? They're going to talk about you. And that gets referrals, which then brings more of these clients for life. If you take the same philosophy and apply it to all of these people, now you have a massive ripple effect, and you don't have to worry about growing your business because you've cared your business to you. That's how it works. And so that's why it should be important for people to even work on one fear. You don't have to take on all your fears because that's big. And I just did mine one at a time. And over the years, I've gotten to the point where this pandemic hit and I'm like, that's a pickle. What am I going to do different? Right? And I've invented stuff because I'm not afraid. Fear, as you know, because I know you're a neuroscience geek like me, it shrinks your brain. Yeah. And so you can't be creative and you can't think your way through something. And so if anybody is suffering right now, and many people are, because they don't have this training and they're not nerds like us and the neuroscience thing. So this could be new to people. What you tell your brain is what your body does. And so if you're telling your brain negative things, your body will do negative things, right? And by negative things, I mean you will self-sabotage. You will quit too soon.
Yeah.
You will take too many webinars and not do anything with it. It's what everyone's doing right now. Like you see everything as a giant risk as opposed to a massive opportunity. You can't think your way through those things. So that's why I think it's really important not only to do the work yourself, but then help others. Like once you've done some work and seen results, share that.
My cheeks are hurting a little bit because I knew I sort of hit you sort of deer in headlights with that question, but
Loved it.
I knew you'd smash it too, because you delivered it exactly the way in my mind I would almost say the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is really the power of reciprocity right here. This is,
Absolutely.
you trying to help yourself. Don't just try and help you. But now it's when you go out and help others, it's amazing how that ends up helping you. And now you've not only just helped you, but you've helped other people. And
Mm-hmm.
that'll be a vibration that goes down the line. And
Mm-hmm.
now, again, this is you working that one step closer to taking yourself to that place that you ultimately want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So now, speaking of that, I had also read on your site that you say, discover your true purpose. And then you said two. And so on both fronts of that, what is your true purpose?
My purpose, everything that I do comes down to one very simple statement: to help people live happier, richer, and more fulfilled lives. Everything I do runs along that baseline. If I am introducing a new program, I stress test it. Does this help people to become happier? Yes, no. Are they going to be wealthier? Not with money necessarily, but are they going to feel wealthier within their lives? Yes, no. And do they feel fulfilled? Am I helping to bring meaning to someone's life, purpose to someone's life, a reason to get up in the morning? Yes, no. And if it's yes, 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 I do it. One no, and I just say no to the opportunity.
And I saw that on the site as well. And I'm,
Mm-hmm.
again, very much the same. It's, you got to be willing to want it, to really want it. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
want it, not just
Mm-hmm.
us want it for you. So then how does somebody else, how does somebody on the other side of this, listening to this and watching this, how do they find their true purpose? And does this come back to some of the things we just talked about around getting around fear and around writing these things down and having those goals and having daily intentions for what we're going to be doing every day?
Well, the first thing you got to do is achieve clarity. And you cannot have clarity if you've surrounded yourself with fear. So the first step is obviously to go through the things that are holding you back, to be aware of what they are and aware of, like, are you fearing rejection? Do you compare yourself to others? Do you have guilt and shame? Guilt being you feel bad about something, shame feeling you feel like you're a bad person. Brene Brown wrote a great book, Daring Greatly, about that. It's a wonderful read.
She was awesome. It took me a while, but Jen was like, "You got to watch this. You got to watch this." And I was like, "Okay, fine, throw it on." And I was like,
So amazing.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it really, really
You remember that
resonates.
story she told about swimming with her husband, and she was in the
Yes.
bathing suit?
Yep.
And it was like the way
Mm-hmm.
she thought he thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of it all, like he
So
wasn't
dangerous.
thinking anything near what she was thinking. And so she was doing the self-sabotage. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God. Yeah, no, that was wicked. Brene Brown, for everybody who
Yep.
has not yet, check it out.
Yep. That was Netflix, I think, a special that she did there.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So fear is the first part, in terms of getting a hold of your why, because I could not identify my why until I had eradicated the fear and anxiety and shame and guilt that I'd surrounded myself with, because like your why will just be pinging off and you won't see it, or you'll get lost. There's a process called 7 levels deep, which you can do, which basically says what's important to you. And then you, like an annoying 5-year-old, you ask why 7 different times. But I find that gets people a little bit, it's not a direct result, I think, that people get that they can really get behind. So Brendan Burchard, actually, I went through his purpose statement process, which is who do you want to be? So what would be a description, words, phrases of who you want to be? And then what is it that you want to do? So how do you want to come across in your relationships, right? And then there's like, so that what, right? Like, really, what are you shooting for at the other end? Do you want to get a promotion so that you can, I don't know, expand your brain and ideas to the organization so the products get to the people that need it most, right? Like, is that really where you're going with it? For me as a coach, again, because I'm helping people, like, how can I push what I know towards people for them to accept it, work on it, and then be different in a good way? So what is that ultimate outcome? And I find that that piece of the puzzle can really help you with determining what's driving you. And then what you do is you take those three sort of groups of words and you put it together in a purpose statement. So, my purpose statement is, I want to be more like this so I can do more of that so that this actually happens.
Got it.
And when you break it down into those three component parts, internal, external, and outcome, that's what it is. So internal, things you want to be; externally, how do you want to come across; outcome, what do you want to have at the end of it; piece it all together in one statement. And that's what I live by when I create. And I worked on it for a while, and I thought about it and changed it and modified. And then everything you do, that's the baseline. And you have to check mark all the way across. Is what I'm about to do lining up with this? Because if not, you're off purpose and now you're winging it. And that's going to create anxiety, guilt, shame, and all this other negative stuff that's going on. So that's generally what I recommend. Now, of course, I'm a reader. Start with Why. That's a great book to read. I personally love Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, because it brings it down to, you survive by what you believe the outcome is going to be, and by holding on to that, and by visualizing that, and believing in that. And he had lucky moments. But what happens, as you know, with reticular activation, what you tell your brain to look for, it will find proof of. So if he was looking for life and, survival, his brain made those opportunities available and he saw them. All those opportunities were available to the same people in multiple instances, but they didn't see it because they had told their brain that they were going to die. And so they did.
Well, this is this is intention setting and put it in the simple form
Mm-hmm.
of, when we look at what is it that we want, if we truly
Mm-hmm.
believe we are not going to have. I mean, I'm going to dumb this right down to a parking spot for a moment, okay, and
Go
not
for it.
really make it that crazy, but it's like, for the amount of times that we will pull into a busy parking lot, and both myself and Jen were both thinking like, we're getting a front spot for sure, and you pull up and you get a front spot, and people are like, how the. And I remember there was one story where there was a hockey dad that kept going to Jen. He's like, how do you keep getting the front spot? She goes, because every time I pull in, I know I'm going to get the front spot. He goes, you just think about it. She's like, yeah. He
Yes,
goes, as
I do the
opposed to
same
what?
thing.
As opposed to what? She's like, well, thinking I'm not going to, or thinking I'm going to park at the
Right.
back of the lot. It's so busy. And he's like, so you just think about it.
Yep.
She's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
happened 3 times. So finally he
Mm-hmm.
comes up to her one day. He's like, I parked at the front. She's like, oh, way to go. Congratulations. He's like, seriously, I thought about it as we pulled in. He's like, I'm doing what Jen's told me. I am going to think about this parking spot.
Mm-hmm.
And he got it. Now, I don't make the joke because it was a real story there. But we're talking about a parking spot for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so this is now take it bigger in life. And as you said, searching for life and searching for other things is when
Mm-hmm.
you start to believe in these things and you start to look ahead of them, you can
Mm-hmm.
start to actually paint that picture of what is going to happen. This is what we
Yeah.
truly call intention setting. Now,
Mm-hmm.
your book, which you held up a few moments ago, which feel free, please. Yeah. Think
Mm-hmm.
again, my 7
Seven.
stage journey from self-sabotage to success. Um, when you just mentioned the 7 stages, is that part of that right there? I mean, give us a highlight. Who's this book for? Where can people get that?
Okay, so you can get the book at Indigo. Actually, Amazon for sure. Indigo, possibly. And I'm going to be doing my virtual book signing on April the 30th. So there's more information coming on that. It's going to be super fun. Like, Jimmy Fallon's like when he writes thank you notes,
Yeah.
like that's what I'm going to do. Because you can buy the book and then you can dedicate it to
That is
someone.
cool.
And I'm like, da, 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 da. I'm going to have the music playing.
That's cool.
I'm trying to get Starbucks to let me do it there. Exactly. It's gonna be so fun. I'm having a gas with it.
That's cool.
So there's multiple places you can get there. So look for that coming soon. The 7 stages in the book start with what we talked about today.
Yeah.
It starts with the stories that we make up in our head about ourselves, right? And then it flows through to the stories and assumptions we make about what others think. So a lot of people, they get all the training in the world on how to be a really good salesperson, but they can't pick up the phone because they're afraid they're going to sound stupid. Even though there is Zippo proof of that, it stops them. And so, in the same way, I go through that story changer process of I'm not good enough. Where does it come from? What's a news story? How's my life different? You apply the exact same methodology to assumptions. What assumption am I making? Where's the proof of it? There's none. What's a new one I can make? They love me. No one thinks I'm stupid. And how would my life be different? What would I be doing differently if I wasn't afraid what people thought about me? And usually that line of thinking is even more powerful than dealing with the internal demons we have about ourselves. So those are like chapters 4 and 5 that we have some lead ups. There's an interesting prologue in here from my one and only high school friend, because I only had one, because, religion.
I don't mean to laugh at that, but I
You can, by all means. Like if you can't cry about it anymore, you got to laugh. But like it's a very, I don't even barely recognize myself from those days. So to have to come from that, and the book doesn't really go into too much detail. I didn't want it to be a tell-all.
Yep.
Very conscious of my parents who are still in it, and I love them to pieces. And what they did was out of love, not of trying to screw me up, but it did. Anywho, not their fault. So the second stage is that, like, I'm just going through it, make sure I get them in the right order. I've got them totally out of order all the time. The stage 3 is digging into your why. How do you find that purpose statement for yourself? So I give the different strategies, Brendan Burchard strategies, the 7 levels deep strategies, and a bunch of others. The stage 4 is your support system. You are the average of who's around you. So if you're hearing negative feedback all the time, or just not supportive feedback, sometimes it's not that it's negative, but it's not really helping you. I heard Grant Cardone, not a huge fan, but his wife also not a big fan of her, but they said something interesting. So I forgive all the rest of it. I don't have to like you. I just have to like what you say, and then the rest of you can go away. And I'm sure she wasn't the first person to say it. If you're not building your empire, you are tearing it down. And same thing with the people surrounding you. They're either helping you build your empire or they're tearing it down. So if you're working so hard, but for every brick you put on, someone's pulling something off of the bottom, you're not going to get anywhere. And so once you've kind of cleared that air, stage 5, 6, and 7 is, and now what do you do with it? I wanted this book to be an action-taking book, not just to, figure out what's going on in your head and, well, good luck. I wanted, like, if you want to apply this to marketing, this is how you do it. If you want to apply this to building a business, these are the 5 stages. If you want to attract your perfect client, this is the structure. So, stage 5 is defining the world that you want. Stage 6 is aligned action. There's a lot of productivity and direction and all that kind of a thing. And then stage 7, which is really important, is what to do when you have setbacks. So, because you will, and how not to let all this work you've done to move forward just slam back at you and throw you back into the doldrums. Because remember, our brains are going to fight us all through the 7 stages that I describe in this book. But those are the 7 stages that I went through to go from someone who was afraid to turn on her car every day because I thought I was going to die. Because I was told every day, you're going to die. So most people I'm not here live every day like it's your last. I want to punch him in the face with a chair. Because I'm just like, no, like, to me, that's terrifying, because that's actually what I thought. I thought I was going to die. And I would send my kids to school and I would say, I'm never seeing them again. And I'd watch my husband go to work and I'd think, what was the last thing I said?
Wow.
Because what if it wasn't, I love you?
That's a scary way to move on with your day, eh?
Mm-hmm.
But you got past
For
that.
decades. And I did. So imagine neural pathways super deep in those, in that regard. I struggle still with certain things, like on a 2-lane road. I have a really hard time. That car coming at me, it's death. I'm done. And even though, so it started this whole sort of debacle of blowing up my life, like truly blowing it up, was I rolled my car on the QEW at 6:30 in the morning, St. Patrick's Day, 2008.
Oh, wow.
Yep, I was going a little bit too fast, but there was frost and I didn't see it. It came onto the on-ramp, 6:30 in the morning. The back of my car caught the gravel, spun me around. I'm like, okay, it's all right. I'm going to slow down. But I did, but at that point I was going down the embankment. So I'm going down the embankment, facing oncoming traffic. It's about a 30-foot embankment, super steep. My tires explode, propel me onto the roof. I slam onto the highway, and the highway was like right here. The car was crushed over my head. I was pushed against my steering wheel, trying to keep my face from like catching pavement, and then I stopped. Right, I stopped spinning, and I'm facing oncoming traffic in the dark, upside down on the QEW 6-lane highway. And my first thought was, they're wrong. I didn't die. Because they told us that if I even thought about leaving the religion, there's 2 ways I was going to get cooked: cancer or a horrible car crash.
Wow.
And so here I was, upside down in my car on the QEW 6:30, St. Patrick's Day, and I didn't die. And then I'm like, so this is what it's like to be upside down in a car. That's kind of neat. And then I should get out.
The highway.
Yep.
Wow.
And so I opened up my new sunroof, which was my passenger door, because I was kind of at an angle like that, jumped out, shook the glass out of my hair because all the windows had exploded, and thought, well, that's a pickle.
There's that pickle again.
And just something went out of my brain that day, and I was done. 5 months later, I had a divorce. A month after that, I lost my job. 3 months previous to that, I left the religion, and I had nothing. My family turned their back on me for a while. They came back, but I was not supposed to do this. I'm not supposed to blow up my life. I didn't know how to have friends. I'd never had a TV, so I didn't even know how to order cable. I didn't know how to operate like a normal human, because I wasn't in the world, right? And I had to do that from scratch. And it's from that rubble that I went and I built a business for myself, my agency. And yet there was always something niggling at me going, okay, I've remarried. It's a great guy. Like, everything's fantastic. Why am I still unhappy? It's like a weight that was here. And I just decided that was enough. And I was just going to go figure out what my problem was.
Wow.
And that's what I talk about in the book.
And we can learn more about this in the book, obviously.
Yep.
And I know Cheryl, thank you, Cheryl. She posted up the link already in our,
thank you.
chat here. So you can get that on Amazon. I have to ask, is it available on Audible yet?
Not yet, because pandemic.
Cool.
So I'm working with, the other thing I'm just coming out with is also a workbook. So it's a companion workbook that goes with this. That's also going to be coming out the same day that I do my my book signing. So look for it in a couple of weeks. But if people are really serious about making a change, obviously they can get the book and the workbook. And then, of course, I've got my group coaching programs and one-on-one coaching programs. So I had 2 people up for those today before the call. So it's a really exciting day. I'm very excited about that. For people who want that actual help from me to say, okay, reading a book is great. I just need a bit of a guide to just get me over that from excellence to genius. It's going to be hard, and I'm a little bit scared. And so, having a guide to kind of hump them over when they're struggling or when they're resisting, I've got those as well.
Sweet. So I want to sort of kind of switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
We talked about fear. We talked about, the pathways of what people are going through in a day to day, and things that are happening in the right now, right? The world we're living in today. But going beyond the fear, and then going on, beyond the obvious, the already stated issues about what everybody's scared about. In a normal world, what do you find is the biggest challenges that our audience does face on a regular day-to-day, sort of with business, with life? What is that regular sort of thing that people are going through? And what would you say that they can do to go about fixing that? Like, I might say people get into this business because they want freedom and they want flexibility. If for some reason they have no idea how to manage time, they don't know what their goals are. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing in a day. So, a big thing here is time management. A big thing here is money management. What do you say to that? What is that big thing that most people are struggling with? And what would you say they can do to fix whatever it is that you're coming up with there? And maybe it's the same as what I don't know.
What you're saying is part of it. But what they absolutely need is clarity.
Okay. Cool.
So, and clarity comes again from doing the stuff we talked about, getting rid of the fear, because the fear literally clouds our vision, and we cannot see it. And every fear is it's like almost like wax paper layers, right? So you pull one off and it's a little bit clear, but not quite. You still don't know what you should be doing. Pull out another one, it gets clearer and clearer and clearer, until that no longer clouds your vision. And then only then can you see, aha, this is what I want to do. And then once you have that idea of what you want to do, It's having the consistent habits and practices every single day to make that happen. So that's why, as a certified high performance coach, that's why I got the certification, because, through my book and through all those kinds of practices and strategies, I offer the clarity. But once you have clarity, what the hell do you do with yourself, right? And a lot of people will still do too much work or busy work and not be efficient with their work or with their time. I don't have enough time. I rarely ever say that, because of my relationship with time and the way that the habits that I practice to make sure that I get stuff done. I mean, I don't need to go through my processes, but that's basically it. So clarity of both getting rid of fear and drama, and then really asking yourself, what is the outcome that I am striving for in my life? And once you decide what that is, because you don't have any fear and all that kind of thing clouding your vision, what your next step should be becomes really clear. Because 2 years ago, I was running my agency. I had thought about being a coach. That'd be kind of a cool thing. Coming out of the program that I went through, which I am now certified in, I'm like, agency is dead, and I'm going to be a coach. Woo! Right? And now I'm working on, I think, one of my most exciting projects. I can't even say what it is. It's like super top secret, but oh my God, life changing.
Love it.
And it never would have happened if I hadn't achieved that clarity. Because once I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and I'm like, and how do I do that? So I'd get the education. Okay, how do other people do great coaching? What kind of certifications do I need? And I would just pull from like everyone I knew or books or whatever, and then you just do the work, and it doesn't always work out. Like I've had stuff where, they're gonna run a workshop and like 0 people signed up for it, and I'm like, So I discovered how to get people to show up to my workshops. Do you want to know what it is? You actually know the answer to this question because we talked about this.
Yeah.
Whine.
It's not whining at people. That is serving wine to people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when when the pandemic is lifted and all that kind of a thing, I plan on doing some wines and masterminds, right? Because that's just kind of fun. I had like billions of people say they'd come to it, and I'm like, oh, well, apparently just throw booze at people and they show up. So that's really what it was for me.
Love it. No, it's amazing. So now that we're here and we can't go see each other and we can't come out and have the wine and we can't, get together, but we can definitely communicate right now. So
bingo.
I've got to ask the question, how do you suggest people should be building MindShare right now?
Content. Caring, empathetic, ethical content. So ethical, small thing. What is this word of which you speak?
We don't know this in this game.
Who knew that could be possible? And there's different ways of doing it. You can do list building content. So if you're like, okay, I can't really do anything, but I can grow my list. What kind of pieces of information are people looking for that answer a question or solve a problem or address a concern? And just do it. Run ads, send it to your email database, get other people who have big databases to maybe co-host something with you so that you can co-promote it, and get them to register for your programs that way. It's what the number one thing people do. Russell Brunson just wrote a book on it. It's traffic secrets. Well, here's your secret.
I just want to mention that the MindShare podcast is sitting at number 15 with Russell Brunson at 16.
See, there you go.
Just saying.
No, you can say that. High five, virtual high five.
It was for yeah, thank you. It was probably for a brief moment in time, but
who cares?
Sitting above Russell Brunson. So
called it, nailed it.
Sorry,
there forever. Just do a screenshot. I'm like, see, there it is. Proof.
Oh, trust me, the screenshot was posted.
Oh, I know. I have my screenshots when I hit number 1 on Amazon. Am I number 1 right now? No, don't care.
But we were there. But no. But content, and that's an interesting. Like we share that a lot with everybody. Is so many people in this industry hate giving out the free content and the value.
Biggest mistake ever.
They just want the deal and they just want the business right now. And it's like, but I just want to get the deal. And when I put that out and I don't get the reciprocation and nobody watches my video or nobody engages or I don't get the shares that I want to, whatever. People get to that point where they go, I'm not doing this anymore. And you and I have both preached consistency a lot today. And we always do that on a regular basis.
Yep.
I'm going to say much the same right there. You want to get out there right now and talk to people, be consistent about what you're doing, do it across multiple channels, right? Now, if I don't do social media, okay,
fine.
Should I be considering hiring somebody to post for me on my personal feed right now because I don't do it? Should I hire somebody to do that for me? That's kind of
Okay,
the same
so
look I got on that thing. I just,
yeah. See, here's the thing, because I still run an agency where we
yeah.
post content for people.
Hmm.
It's a very small part of what I do because there's a reason for it, reason I'm doing it.
Well,
But
that's what
anyway,
I wanted. That's kind of where I was going. And this is based on previous conversations. So I'm going to
yep,
ask you this twofold, and sorry, cut you
mm,
right off in the middle of that
that's
sentence.
okay. I
Um,
can pivot.
but should it be hiring somebody for my personal? And if
No.
not, or if so, should I hire somebody for my business? And if not, if so, should I be running social media ads right now? Do those even work? Does this whole idea of spending money on social media work if you don't
Hmm.
have your organic game going? Is there ROI in this whole thing? I mean, this is a loaded question. We could do a whole podcast on this thing on its
We
own, but
probably
I'm
could.
just curious,
So
like,
I'll try to be quick.
because I know you know your stuff on this, so I'm just curious of your feedback there for
Yep.
everybody listening.
Okay. So, um, you should or can hire someone to help you with your social media, but for baseline only, right? Because the thing is, if you hire someone like me to do your content, I can't take pictures of you, I can't take videos of you. And those are the two things that are going to drive the most reach anyway. So all I can do is find links and quotes and other kind of stuff in and around your brand that will allow you to at least have a baseline presence, but you must always supplement that with either photos or videos and content of your own making, because that is the human part of your brand, and you must have that on there. Now you can hire a photographer to come in and like just do like a photo shoot in half a day, and then just save those photos and like spread them out. That's highly recommended. There's tools like Hootsuite that you can use. So you sit down like on a Monday, you can schedule like all of your content for an entire month and never worry about it again. But I would very much dissuade people to set it and forget it. That is A, dangerous, but B, you have to be able to sign up for this. And I absolutely call hogwash. I'm using nice words today because we're on live.
Yes.
We all know how I normally talk, so I thought I just want to pat myself on the back for not swearing once.
You've done
Thank
very
you.
well. Very well.
You.
We will not get the
Um,
big red E yet on
Not yet.
iTunes. We'll see what happens in the
Very
next
good.
few
I'm trying to be
weeks.
good for you.
Yes, thank you.
Anyway, so you must always change your relationship with time, address a strategy. Okay, what am I trying to do with my social media? Which is going to address your question about ads. What do you want your social media to do? Do you want to build your brand? Then you absolutely have to do video. Just answer questions. What's the question? Hey, so-and-so had a question. Here's my answer. Have a good day.
There you
Next.
go. Yep.
Here's the question. Here's the, like, it's really not that complicated. You don't need a big production. You need a phone. That's
Yes,
it.
right.
All I use, a phone and a tripod I got for $20 on Amazon.
Mine's my phone on my
Um,
right arm.
there you go.
Cheaper than the
I just
tripod.
find after a while it kind of shakes, it gets long. I
Cheaper
weak
than the
arms.
tripod or more expensive. I mean, you can't buy it anywhere.
No, you can't. So the next question was, do you hire anyone to do your personal? And that's just no. That's like lame to the point I will make fun of you in public.
Thank you.
Okay, so definitely don't hire for that. And the other question was social media ads. Do they work? The answer is yes, if done properly.
Exactly.
Right? So if you have a small following and you want to blow that out of the water, you shoot anywhere from 3 to 15-minute video where you're teaching something. Okay, so you're actually having like a strategic reason that you're trying to get people to listen to you. You're teaching them a concept, and all throughout the video and all throughout the copy, you're driving your call to action. Do this, do this, do this. Really great if you have a course and you're doing this, so you teach actually something from the course, which sounds backwards as per your point for giving away stuff for free. I'm not going to join your course unless I know that it's something that really is going to help me. So all y'all got to say something about it.
Right.
You shoot those, you run that ad as a video views ad. So it gets really, really super cheap with a call to action that drives through to a landing page, and you're in business. Those are the ads that are working best right now. And then you retarget people who have watched 10 seconds or more of that video with a more direct offer. And you can do that because they're already shown to be interested, and 10 seconds is interested, um, so that they can now get an upgraded offer and actually get something. So that's the kind of ads that work exceptionally well right now in today's day and age.
And thank you for that. I mean, I would piggyback on that and say that once you've got the landing page and you get the actual lead, The lead has to funnel into somewhere. That somewhere
Oh,
probably
yes.
costs you a couple dollars to manage that. Putting the
Yep.
content together costs some time and some money
Hmm.
potentially. So
Hmm.
there's a lot more involved than just running an ad or boosting a video or,
Oh,
sponsoring
there's
an
a
event, right?
whole
There's a whole
system.
system in the
Yeah.
background.
But again, that's a whole other video.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna I'll finish that part on that and just say
Mm,
social media side to
yeah.
everybody. Get out there,
Yep.
connect with people, support one channel with the next channel,
Hmm.
and make sure you focus on the right audience. Okay, this is you putting yourself in the right place at the right time, because this will all end, and when it does, you will be in the right place.
Right.
So
You need to be remembered, and you will not be remembered for doing nothing.
there you go. Last question for you.
Ready.
What made you smile today?
This.
Yeah.
This made me smile. Listening to a guy talk about, I just before my 1 o'clock, he died 5 times. He was brought to the morgue 3 times, woke up and scared the living daylights out of everybody there by going, "Hey, not dead," right? And one guy quit his job at the hospital because they kept freaking him out because they kept on being dead and then not dead. But listening to him to say like, I still want to do something. There's something here for me. You went from this to Zippo. That makes me smile, right? I could go on about the number of things that have made
For
me smile
sure.
today. My
That's
husband
good.
waking up, next to him because he's the most amazing human. That was my first smile of the day,
Amazing.
always. So
Amazing.
very grateful for everything that I have around me. Like my gratitude is just like, if it could be like a bomb that goes off and just splatters everybody with like all the gratitude I have and made them smile today, that'd be a good day.
Well, you're making me smile, and I am grateful that you made the time for us today. Where can people go to find you? I know we talked about getting the book on Amazon, so make sure you get
Yep.
the book. Think
Hmm.
again. Where can people connect with you?
My Facebook is always a place where I connect the most. Obviously, Facebook, Instagram, you can find me there. If you go into Google and you look me up, just a word of caution, if you type in Rebecca Mountain, the first person that comes up is a woman that married an 800-pound man. This is not me. I'm the next one. So, but they keep firing content down about these people. And I'm like, could you just not? Like, we're glad, clap, clap, let them go. Okay. I just can't overcome the Daily Mirror in the UK, with SEO. But yeah, that's how you can find me. But I love connecting with people. My Facebook page is always open. I always post content there. I post content everywhere. So however you feel best, really, wherever you feel most comfortable connecting with me, find your favorite platform. I'll be there, except not TikTok yet. Still
Love it.
figuring that out.
I've sort of ventured into the TikTok, but I've learned, I think, more that I'm on it. It is a bigger waste of time in my mind. You can get a lot of video
Yeah.
views, but anyways, that's again a whole other
Another
show.
time.
Rebecca, as expected, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure and to be your guest.
You're either listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or maybe you downloaded our free Industry Syndicate podcast app. Or maybe you went to my website, MindShare101.com. And while you're on my site, make sure to download your free copy of the 7 Ways to Communicate ebook to help you build more mindshare so that you can get more market share. And check out our personal one-to-one mindshare coaching so you can achieve everything you want in life. Wherever you like to consume your content, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at MindShare101 and on Instagram at DavidGreenspan101. This has been another episode of the MindShare Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and stay healthy.